A very warm welcome to you as you join us on today's episode of Tax Matters. I am Pearl Naimeka.
And I'm Chiamaka Ohaochi.
Last episode, we brought you the story of the 142nd meeting of the Joint Tax Board, which was held in Bauchi State from the 25th to the 28th of November 2018. In keeping with the mandate of the board, the meeting deliberated on matters relating to the promotion and assurance of uniformity, harmony, and efficiency in personal income tax administration, as well as issues relating to taxation in general.
Topics discussed at the three-day meeting included creation of a credible taxpayer database and exchange of information among revenue-generating agencies of government, bringing the informal sector into the mainstream tax system, automation of the tax administration system, joint tax audits by federal and state tax authorities, and the voluntary offshore assets regularization scheme VOAS, among others.
On the sidelines of the meeting held at the expansive grounds of the Yankari Games Reserve, Tax Matters spoke to some chairmen of state revenue boards with a view to getting an update on progress being made in their respective states in areas relating to the theme of the meeting.
So we are looking at the theme of this 142nd Joint Tax Board meeting, which is consolidated, credible database and exchange of information, role of stakeholders. Now we'll take it one after the other. How much progress are you making in the area of database collection?
Yes, we all know that one of the major components of a good tax administration system is that of compilation of a credible database. It's been a big problem and a big challenge for most internal revenue service offices. Presently, we operate with a lot of silos. But we feel that at the end of the day, when we have an integrated database, we'll be able to carry out our work more effectively. In terms of exchange of information, the way we are approaching it in Lagos State is that we are getting the major ministries, departments, and agencies. We're working seriously on integration, and this integration is going to include a combination of a database from lands, from land use, from motor vehicles, from LASRA, which is the agency in charge of registration of Lagos State residents. So all these databases are going to be integrated so that centrally we will be able to look up information as and when it is needed.
Now on automation, how much progress have you made in this direction?
In terms of automation, Lagos has been automated for many years. So what we're doing is a continuous overhaul and continuous re-strategizing and improvement, as ICT is a dynamic thing and everything keeps on changing. So we're looking at the development presently of an integrated tax administration system, which again sort of integrates all the various directorates within the IRS, coupled with the integration of the databases that I spoke about earlier on. Now, when we have this, it will take our automation to a different level completely. And we're looking at 2019 to go live on this.
Okay, on the final note, how well are you doing in the area of tax collection in Lagos State?
Well, in terms of tax collection, Lagos is numero uno. We're first among equals in terms of collection, and the numbers are there. Even at this JTB board meeting, the results have been produced for the half year and the 9 months. In the 9 months of 2017, we recorded a collection of about 241 billion. But in 2018, this has gone up to 284 billion. And if we compare it to the whole of 2017, we generated about 285 billion. So we can say that in the 9 months of 2018, we have practically almost matched that of 2017. So by the time the year runs out, we will have the new set of figures, and we know that it will be well above the 300 billion mark, which will be the first time that would happen in the history of collection of taxes in Lagos State?
Well, at Kwara State, we've made substantial progress in terms of database collection, because we know that we cannot operate without data gathering, to the extent that we have to create a department, a research and data gathering department to that effect, and we have our system automated. But the consolidated database that the Joint Task Board is talking about is going to help us a lot, because there are information that we don't have access to. And based on the consolidated database, we are going to have access to it. For instance, the integration of the BVN, the national ID card, the information even from the NCC and the rest, is going to give us a large database that will at least increase the taxpayer base of not only the state but the nation.
Now, in the aspect of exchange of information, how much progress are you making?
Well, in the area of exchange of information, there is limited progress because, as far as exchange of information is concerned, before now, we rely on, communicating between states, writing letters, to get certain information shared. But with this consolidated database, it will be easier to share information because all you need to do is to have the appropriate automation system, and then you can connect on the platform and then access any data of any state that you need, and that makes exchange of information, at least within the Nigeria tax system, easier, because information that relates to a taxpayer that is available with the banks through the BVN, you can now have access to it. Information that is relating to the taxpayer that is available maybe through the national ID card, you can have access to it, the driver's license and all like that. So that makes it easier for you to be able to track down a taxpayer and to be able to properly assess a taxpayer. So this consolidated, credible database that we are talking about, because the credibility of it is important. It's not enough for you to have data. That data must be from a source that is credible, and the credibility of it is the most important thing here, that when we have access to this data, we can use it to grow the revenue of our various states and the revenue of the nation.
Let's look at automation. How much progress are you making in this direction?
Well, in Kwara State, we have made significant progress in automation because our system is fully automated. We've gone even past the stage of using, acquired automation. We've gone to the extent of developing the automation that is relevant internally, building capacity internally to be able to develop automation. But it is not having the automation, it is ability to now deploy the automation that is always the problem. For instance, for us, for tax revenue, particularly for the corporate and organized private sector, we have deployed automation appropriately. For the MDAs, we have also created and deployed automation, but we still have some kind of hindrance because we have to work hand in hand with the ministries, departments, and agencies. And until we can synergize with them, the effect of the automation will not be felt. So it's something for you to have automated system, is another thing for you to be able to properly deploy it with the stakeholders, that are involved in making the automation acquire the kind of results we are looking for.
Now, what are the dividends, the fruits?
Number one fruit is that you can now grow the taxpayer database. That you have more people within the tax net. The second is that with more people within the tax net, then you can now have more revenue. Since the autonomy granted to the Internal Revenue Service in 2015, there have been significant improvement in tax collection due to all that I've said, automation and changing of the people, the process, and use of technology. Revenue of Kwara State has been grown from average of 500 million in 2015 when the reform took place to about an average of 2 billion now on a monthly basis. So moving from 500 million to about 1.5 in 2016, about 1.7 in 2017, and this 2018 we are looking at clocking an average of 2 billion.
London, New York or Lagos, business or holiday, home or office. You can now carry out your tax transactions from anywhere in the world. You can now file all your tax returns, pay online, get a receipt and even process your tax clearance certificate from anywhere in the world online and in real time. All you need to do is log on to www.firs.gov.ng and click on e-services and be introduced to the world of innovation, convenience and transparency from the FIRS. You can also pay stamp duty as you register a new company with the CAC or for other transactions that require stamp duty payment online. You can also file your withholding tax returns and determine the withholding tax deducted from you is in government covers so that you can get your receipt within 45 days as long as the deduction has been remitted. Yes, all of this and more online at www.firs.gov.ng/e-services. FIRS, making tax administration as easy as ABC. Please note that all FIRS services are free of charge. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service. It pays to pay your tax.
The states are surely following in the footsteps of the FIRS.
Yes, indeed.
Welcome once again. We're bringing you interviews with chairmen of the state internal revenue boards with a view to gauging the level of progress being made across the country in the areas of taxpayer database, exchange of information across states and amongst government agencies, as well as automation of tax administration.
Now we are looking at the theme of the 142nd GTB meeting, which is consolidated, credible database and exchange of information, role of stakeholders. Now let's look at the components, database and exchange of information. Right. How much effort have you made in the aspect of database?
We've done so amazingly well, having a governor that is very, very strong politically in his will. And he's been able to upgrade the Imo State Board of Internal Revenue to the point of full automation of our data system. And by the grace of God, this has been ongoing. He's very, very strong in ensuring that we do this. From the time I came on board, 2016 May, our data collection was at about 60,000. But within these 2 years plus, going to head into 3 years now, we've been able to build it up to over 300,000.
Commendable. Now you did mention automation. What effort have you made in this direction?
2 years ago, when I came into seat as the chairman of the board, everything in the state, every aspect of revenue generation was still manual. And by the grace of God, with the help of His Excellency, we're able to go into full automation of our system, tax systems. You can pick your electronic tax clearance certificates in Imo State within a space of hours, 2-3 hours. We've automated the direct tax system. We've automated the stamp duties. We've automated the motor vehicle administration and moving steadily into the informal sector. And that's the reason why Imo State has really made tremendous increase and improvement like we see in the report today as presented by the Nigerian Governors Forum through the GTB.
That's a good one. So what's the dividends? What are the fruits?
Amazing, like I said, our revenue has moved from 200 million a month to where we are now. At certain months, we've made over $1 billion, and the average of 800, 900 million. We've seen steady increase. Imo State is number 5 among the states that their revenue has grown.
The FIRS used to collect personal income tax from residents of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, of course, along with personal income taxes from itinerant workers like officials of the Foreign Affairs Ministry, the Armed Forces, and policemen and women.
However, in the year 2015, the National Assembly enacted the Federal Capital Territory Internal Revenue Service Act, establishing a revenue board for the FCT to administer personal income taxes, thereby taking over that function from the FIRS. The Federal Capital Territory Internal Revenue Service took off only in January 2018 under the leadership of Alhaji Abdullahi Atta.
How much progress are you making in the regard of database?
Well, this question is very apt for a young service like ours. which is just less than a year old. We started in January 2018 taking over from FRS. Our vision and strategy is really building database. So in the first year, what we're concerned with is building database. We want to increase revenue, but our major focus is first to have a clean database. When I say clean database, what we're doing is, before now, people are being registered and given numbers that are not unique. What we've gone is to register taxpayers with a unique identification number. That is, we leverage on BVN and NIMC to make sure that when we give you a TIN number, that TIN number is unique. It will never be repeated. And that's the database we've built. And we've built over 1 million now. We're still counting, hoping to do 1.5 million by 2019. Now, because Abuja is the center of Nigeria, and our taxpayers are very migratory, every 4 years there will be election, and people will come into Abuja, and after 4 years, a lot of them will not come back. They will move back to their state. So once we have that information in the JTB system, as you move, we know that you've moved. And new people that have come in, we also take them on. So when we say exchange of information, it is we that requires a lot of exchange of information. Our taxpayer hitherto was in Ogun, or Lagos, or Kano, or Sokoto, and he has moved here. What he intends to is supposed to move with his tax information from wherever he was coming from. Similarly, when he moves from Abuja, we take his information back to wherever state he's going to, and then he continues there.
Okay, now on the aspect of automation, how much progress have you also made in this direction?
Every tax system has about 8 or 9 modules. The very first module is registration, which we have automated. Once you register, you have now created a file for him. What we do is to create both an electronic file and a physical file for every taxpayer that we've registered. Now, after that, then he goes, payments. All payments are now automated through the banks and through the various switching companies. There are 4 of them. There are 23 banks. As you pay, your information comes to us. We upload it to a file, an electronic file. We upload it to a physical file. So that is the first aspect. So registration, payments, then you file your tax return. As you file your tax return, you can do it online, you can come and do it manually. If you do it online, we remove it and take it to your file. So we are going gradually. Out of the about 8, 9 processes that we have already automated about 4 of them. So gradually in 2019, we hope that we would have integrated most of the other systems.
Okay, now I would like to know how well you're doing in the area of tax collection.
Yeah, that's an area that we have actually not been, not being an old tax system. We're just a new organization that started in January. All we can say generally is that we have so far done a little better than when FRS was collecting on behalf of FCT. We've just done about 15-20% more than FRS.
You generate new things for residents. Would you want to elaborate on this?
Yeah, I really want to elaborate on that. What we have done is that we use 3 systems. If you register with FRS, ideally, you're supposed to be given what is called a JTB TIN. A JTB TIN, they take your biometric, and it's supposed to be unique. But if FRS registers you and didn't give you a unique number, we will have to give you another number that is unique, because that number is not unique. With that number, you cannot be identified. With our own systems now, you will be identified. So there are 3 areas that we got our data from. If you are registered with a JTB and we had a unique TIN number from JTB, we retain that number. If you had a NIN from NIMC, where they had the biometric, we also use it, because for every NIMC, there's a BVN behind it. And both of them have unique identification, so we take that one. Or if you register BVN, and we use BVN to register you, you would have been identified uniquely.
Alhaji Usaini Jibo is the Executive Chairman, Bauchi State Internal Revenue Service, and host chairman of the 142nd meeting.
We've noticed and we've seen that your tax collection base has grown by 40%. We must commend you for that. So we want to know, how were you able to do this?
Well, it's not as if I increase any taxes. I work on the existing taxes and levy that we are, but the only thing I emphasize is one, I try to block some of the revenue leakages. Secondly, I try to play more emphasis on the enforcement. We work day and night to make sure the unpaid revenue is being paid to the government corpus. And I give emphasis on the automation. That automation, at the same time, apart from blocking the leakages, it gives the customer, the taxpayers, a confidence that what they are paying is going to the right copper. Then, like the technology we deployed yesterday, you can see with your handset, when you get your assessment, you pay your tax. You can, as you are going to the, as you are going on the street, you can branch to one of the bank branch and use your ATM and pay your tax. So that makes the payment of tax more easy and encourage the taxpayers to pay.
So what templates are you using for taxing the informal sector?
Well, we use presumptive tax. The template is approved by the JTB. The informal sector is not about templates sometimes, is let them understand why they should pay tax.
So much for scorecards. As we said at the beginning, the interviews you just saw were conducted on the sidelines of the 142nd meeting of the Joint Tax Board. Tax Matters sought to know from the Executive Secretary Joint Tax Board the takeaway from the meeting.
My takeaway is that it has been confirmed that at every JTB meeting, we are surpassing the previous one in terms of participation, in terms of preparation, and in terms of the buy-in and the political support we are getting from the host governor. Bauchi State has outperformed all other governors in terms of the way he demonstrated support, not just for the state revenue board, but for the taxation family, as it were. For the first time in our meetings, a governor kept every other thing aside, including the State Executive Council meeting, to spend almost 8 hours with us in a technical session, not just to declare the meeting open, but listen to presentations and also encourage the citizens to buy into the inclusive tax administration system is trying to put in place.
Mr. Babatunde Fowler, Executive Chairman FIRS, is by virtue of that position the Chairman of the Joint Tax Board. We spoke to him on matters around and beyond the 142nd meeting.
For some time now, we've noticed, and it came up at the meeting, that the FIRS are now thinking of substitution, whereby the banks are now being made agents of collection for companies that are defaulting in tax payments. Now, what has this yielded?
It has made owners of these companies realize that there's no hiding place. It has also brought in revenue. Within the first 45 days, I believe we're able to generate close to 19 billion. And I think I won't say the lower income people, but people who always thought that the tax burden is for them only and not for the rich, now realize that both the rich and those who are considered in the lower income brackets will all pay the tax to support ourselves.
You also mentioned that the FIRS be able to make 4.7 trillion. So what's the magic?
Well, the magic, I think, is the cooperation and working with all stakeholders. We now believe, and strongly so, that most Nigerians believe that the only way forward is through tax payments, and we're getting good support from MAN, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, from NECA, from even MBA. So they all believe that and realize that We cannot wait on foreign aid or donors or outsiders to help us build our economy. We have to do it ourselves.
So are you hopeful that you reach 5 trillion?
Well, I will say by the grace of God, but from all indications, we'll certainly surpass 5 trillion. And we believe that this year will be the highest year for revenue generation in the history of FIRS. And we believe that as we generate these funds, which are shared between the federal, state and local governments, the three tiers of governments will be in a better position to provide all the infrastructural requirements and services for the good people of Nigeria.
You must have had fun in Bauchi. The view is breathtaking, and I saw monkeys watching. Did they disturb you?
No, they were doing their thing and I was doing mine.
Talk about working and playing. We do thank you for watching, and remember to have fun this Yuletide season. And from Chiamaka,
Merry Christmas and prosperous New Year in advance.